Top of the morning to you. I hope you're all fine and dandy and staying ahead of the game. Remember, it is a game, and each one of us must play a part. Thank you for joining me again, and we're going to take a look at a different part of the country today. I'm going to take everyone to hell, and you'll see what I mean by that. But if you read the New Testament writings, it's clear when Paul talks about Tartarus, and when he talks about Damascus, and he talks about Jerusalem, he was unable to get to Jerusalem because of Roman occupation. It was a very difficult journey from where he was in Tarshish, also known as Tartarus. And so he talked about getting to Jerusalem. The other disciples and apostles were angry that he couldn't get to Jerusalem, but it was under Roman occupation, and he was in this area in the south of England known as Sidmouth, and there was a reason why he was down here in Sidmouth, because just like the other 12, he was battling something that came up from the underworld. He was battling something which is entirely misunderstood from the New Testament writings of the disciples, the apostles and Jesus. What we're actually reading there is the story of Jason and the Argonauts and the heroes in the heavens. But that's for another video. Today I want to show this great battle in the heavens, and I want to show from this place that our ancestors understood or understood as the underworld. I want to show the Rose Line in particular. Many people are fascinated by the Rose Line and believe that, you know, the awesome spiritual energies on it. Well, no. The Rose Line takes you up the whole of the west coast of the British Isles, and you can see Isle of Man is separated over here, but at one time this was all one land, and the reason why it's separated is because here Cetus the beast was thrown down. They rose up from Tartarus, from Tarshish, the lands of copper. And anyone who has watched other videos will see that this here, the Cornwall and the Plymouth and the Sidmouth coast, is a fish, Pisces. And our heroes rose up in the age of Pisces. In the age of Pisces they rose up and they shut the mouth of the beasts. And here we're going to look at one little place in particular, which caught my attention, and this is a place known as Honiton. I'm probably not saying that right. Honiton. Honiton. For me it sounds like Hanan, Chain, Chan, Canaton, or Cane, or Can, Canaton. It's just been changed slightly. But it's not the name so much that interests me. It's I have an eye for seeing where things are. But this Rose Line is where it's called the Rose Line, but it's because this is where they rose up from, the great dragons and the great beasts. And I'm sure these are the great dragons and the great beasts down here. But what I can show you for certain is Honiton, England, is not the falling of a great beast as I have been showing in the past, but rather a rising up and a looking up to the North Celestial Pole, where the beasts looked up and were jealous and attacked the archangels and the angels which were in heaven, created a war, which is what I'm mapping here. This is the battlefield. But this Rose Line is where they rose up. and I'm currently mapping from the north of Scotland to show people this battle that took place all the way down these lands, following these lines. And then I know many people are impatient, and I am too. So what I'm going to do is I'm jumping down the line, the rose line, from where they rose. Bereshit bara Elohim, they rose out of the underworld. And everything on earth is a reflection of that which is in heaven. So we're looking at Honiton, one of the earliest places where we see this beast overlaid and rising up over the covenant lands, the Brit-ish. Covenant means Brit in Hebrew, and in fact it's not Hebrew, it's a Cornish, Welsh, Somerset language. But I hope everybody can see this here. Batishon Way. These names are all special. Tesco is sitting right on the edge of the tail, and the star right there too. You can see that. Again, I'm going to show that all these stars align perfectly. The industrial estate, Planet Play, Honiton. A number of things up there as well, but a star right there. Of course they want your children there. They want your children in these industrial estates would have been waterways, and by concreting them in they blocked it in, but also it allows them to hide, because in the waterways were these great beasts. And in the waterways they rose up from the underworld, from the waters beneath. And I just love this bit over there. It's Honiton bypass. You can see it, the harp perfectly in the field. Even hearts. It's not harp, but it's Hearts of Honiton. Double H, the bridge. 2 H's. Springfield, the Simpsons. You can see Springfield as the fornix, and then we have the Chemica there. If we zoom in on, I don't really know this area, but it's once you see it, once you understand how it all sets up and how it all works. So Church Lane here is part of that there, the ground, St Michael, Honiton. It's part of this asterisms which are in the heavens underneath Cetus the beast in the lowest heavens, and these are the asterisms or the angels which fell. And this is great, this bit. This is called Brand Lane or Breton, that's a designer. And you've got round ball, the big fat round ball, Cetus the beast there. Round ball hill. What is round ball hill? Oh, of course, it's the sculptor, it's the table. And even the shape of the road is figured out for the table, with the shape of the back of the head, and you know, it's amazing now how these things are overlaid and laid out for us all throughout the country. And I wouldn't know that if it wasn't for the sanding stones, because and I must give all credit to Andis Collins, who's no longer with us, but Andis Collins, who wrote Stars, Stones and Scholars, because without his research and his dividing up of the heavens, my own research wouldn't have went anywhere. It's because of him I can look at areas where there are standing stones and find these alignments and these overlays. What exactly is it? I'm trying to work that out, but it seems to me that we are seeing that the British Isles, the Covenant lands, are the Holy Lands where the great battle for the Garden of Eden took place. And yeah, this is what we're seeing throughout the British Isles. And the ley lines, this pink ley line here that I have, is almost like Jacob's ladder, but it's not Jacob's ladder. Jacob's ladder is the spine of Albion, which is over here, which represents the human spine, but this is the reptilian spine. And it seems to be connected with Cetus the beast at this point. Old Saron, and this line seems to be connected with the Draco. and St. Catherine's Hill seems to be connected with the Hydra, and also the human spine. And these beasts are mapped all the way down the country. All the towns and cities are mapped, but also places like Cheddar Gorge. It's called that because the Celtic word Cedar means valley, and Gorge is just the word George, the Valley of George. So the heroes around Cheddar are around Cheddar Gorge, and the beasts are in other places mapped. And of course our controllers have tried to hide all this and have taken the story elsewhere, but the journey up to heaven, the angel's journey up to heaven, is written all over the spine, all over these lands, and all over what people understand as the rose line. It's a completely different thing. It's not a good thing at all, the rose line. It is where they rose from. But let's go back to Honiton again. Honiton. So there's the Honiton Hospital, the star, the edge of that park there, the glass edge. What I found really, really interesting is if we go up here, so you've got the leisure centre where everybody goes to keep fit. And right in the middle there, do you see that there? See the eye? It's just amazing, because this would have been the eye, and this would have all been water, and this beast's come out of the water. But if you look there, let's go much closer in. There's the eye, there's the schools, community colleges now, sorry. So, and there, that right there, this all would have been water. But no, it's not the eye of the beast anymore. But the children are laid onto the eyes of that beast. You can even see the shape of the nose, the shape of the bill, and the streets here as normal. The streets are all laid down. These streets here are all laid in the shape and the way that the beard flows, or whatever it is it has on its face. And over here we have all the shops and so on. All on the stars. Up here we have the rose well, the rose from the well. Yeah, the Roswell incident, the Roswell, the beast from underneath, from the South Celestial Pole. See the harp now? See the shape of the harp and the roundabout? You see that at the top of Honiton here? I'm probably not getting the name of this place right at all, because I've never been this far south, I don't think. Southwest, I don't think I've been as far, but I'm hoping to. So I don't want to keep this going for too long. I will zoom in. Like I said, I don't really know the area, but I will zoom in on some of these prominent stars and see what we get here. You've got the glen, and the houses either side of the glen. I wonder what the glen is. It's probably part of underneath the legs. Ugh, I don't know. You got Queen Street, which is part of the legs. What are the feet? The feet are normally quite obviously something like farms or something on the outstretched. You can see here, this is the claws. So, and then these big buildings up here, because there's big stars, the disability support services, of course, the railway line there, I don't know what that is there, Orchard Way, but there's a prominent star there. There's quite a lot of stars there in that area, so you've got a lot of shops and stuff here. And yeah, that was the claws, wasn't it, I think? Yeah. This down here is quite interesting, the furnace. This is the furnax in your brain, and it's all been ploughed appropriately. Axminster, I'll need to look at Axminster. Amazing, isn't this? Look at that. These farms and all that are sitting exactly where. This could be moved over slightly, but we're moved down slightly, but we're pretty spot on again. Like I've said before in many of these videos, you can't get it exact. The earth was formed by who knows, an almighty hand formed and shaped for us to know the signs. And our ancestors did know the signs. We knew what these ley lines and energy lines and waterways were. At Sidmouth here, there would have been a huge waterway coming in at this area here, and that would have took you up and around, and this is what these are all about. These are the serpents, the beasts which make up the waterways that spewed out, as it says in Revelation, to consume the child, the woman with the child. And these became massive waterways, and yeah, and we used them for hundreds and hundreds of years until they were all drained away by our governments, and by draining all the waterways away, by damming a dam, by damming them up, by putting concrete industrial estates, by putting concrete roads, by putting bridges, by putting railway lines, and by draining the waters, putting in sewages and all sorts, they get rid of these ancient waterways which would have made up these islands. This island, this part here was Pisces, this part here was Leo and Virgo, and these were all separated by waterways, and the only way you knew where to go through the waterways that were safe was through this great spine of Albion, which represents the human spine. And the rest of the lines were not necessarily dangerous, but you had dangers that you had to, because you were dealing with the beast energies, and that's the guts of the lower gods that are the part of you, which were thrown into the underworld. These gods are not necessarily real. I was saying to somebody today, it's like a Mandela effect. It's a fractured, from the heavens we fell, and the physical heavens is the physical body, mind, and through this spine we have all through these fallen lines, the desires of the guts, the lower gods, through these desires we fell into this lower realm, which is all ruled by Hades and the lower part, Orion, who is the rebel, as the Bible talks about. This whole area, the whole world is ruled by this underworld. This is the North Celestial Pole, and where the pole of heaven, the great battle pursues even to this day, but this is where they rose up from. And this is what the story of the Bible is. The story we hear about Jesus going down to Egypt. This is Egypt. He returns back to Jerusalem, back to the Holy Land. He goes around preaching the good news, and that's the story of the Jason and the Argonauts and the 12, and the good news is the story in the heavens. So, the Bible's much deeper than we can actually comprehend, unless you really study it. But one thing for sure, the things that we call the Bible are written on the physical earth, and the stars and every building, even today, and the councils and all that, they know what they're doing. That's why planning permission is so tight in these British Isles. It's because these lands are the holy lands, and they all hide and tell a story, as above, so below. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope it wasn't far too much information, and I hope I didn't get sidetracked too often. I'm getting tired now. It's been a busy time studying. Take care. Keep looking up. Stay sovereign. Keep shining. Amen.